Hello, everybody. It's incredibly great honor for me to be here. As was announced, I'm born in Portugal to a Portuguese family, and spent much of my time here. But have been very proud of what I've seen Portuguese entrepreneurs create great businesses around the world. And it's amazing to come back here and see this event getting bigger, but also seeing the tech scene in Lisbon getting so much bigger, and it makes me incredibly proud as a Portuguese. So thank you very much for inviting me, but thank you very much for making such an incredible event. I'd love to talk to you a little bit today about Treatwell, which is a company. I've been an entrepreneur in the tech space since 1993. So I've been doing this for a while, but Treatwell is I think my favorite child, and it's a business that I created in 2008. And I want to tell you a little bit about the business and a little bit about the story of how we got there. I'm going to start with the punchline. So Treatwell was acquired almost exactly a year ago. 80% of it was acquired by a company called Recruit Holdings, which is a Japanese company, but a $25–30 billion Japanese company that I had never, ever heard of. And they not only acquired us, but they then put $100 million into the business to help us grow on top of that. And they've been the most amazing partner for us as we've grown. You're going to hear from Imran a little bit later on, who's one of our early investors in the business, and who's here today. But I think, so I want to start with this. This is how we ended. This is how the kind of the most recent chapter was. We're still growing an amazing business. But I want to talk to you about how we got there. Some entrepreneurs start businesses and they kind of know exactly what they're going to build from the start. And they know exactly who they're going to sell it to. I did not know that Recruit existed. I built this business because I believed the market needed it. I had no idea it was ever going to happen. When I went to a conference 3 years ago and I met somebody from Recruit, and they started talking to me about their business, and I discovered that they had a business that was just like ours. I thought, prior to that moment, I thought we were the largest in the world doing what we did. And then I discovered there was this incredible business that did exactly what we did in Japan. And it was 100 times bigger than us. And it was like living in a small alpine valley and discovering that if you'd gone over the hill just once, there was power and cities and electricity the whole time. So they've been an amazing partner for us. But as I said, this is, and I don't consider it's the end of the journey, I consider it just a step in our journey. But I want to talk a little bit about why we did it. So we're a marketplace business, and we started it. One of the most important things about a business in a marketplace like ours is you have to create a better solution for consumers. Reid Hoffman has talked a lot about this. Bill Gurley's talked a lot about this. A number of people have talked a lot about the importance of marketplaces in presenting a better consumer experience. And I believed that fundamentally the way you book hair and beauty services was broken. I didn't understand why you could book everything in your life online, but you couldn't book your hair and beauty services. Now I'm talking, like I usually do, to a room full of men. Predominantly. None of you are my target audience. And when I talked about doing this, most men said I was crazy. Some of the people in this room actually said it was a stupid idea. Some of you were polite and said, Lopo, that's a very quaint idea. Very few saw how big this opportunity could be. But we believed that to pick up the phone, calling somebody, so that on the other side of the line, somebody writing down an appointment with pencil and paper, only during opening hours, with no visibility of availability or pricing, was a stupid way to book in the 21st century. And so we created Treatwell. Very simple how it works. Consumer comes to the website, or now predominantly to our app. They book a service, they see what's available near them, and we provide the salons with a system that helps them manage their business. So it allows us to see their availability. Okay? And then the booking goes through, and we take a commission on every booking that goes through. Very, very simple. Except it isn't. And we're a marketplace, and it's a chicken and egg situation, and it's beautiful infinite loop when everything works, demand and supply working perfectly together. But there's this chicken and egg problem. Which one do you start with? And we have to generate a lot of demand, right? So we do a lot of advertising online. I'm really happy that Google's here and giving me my €20 discount code. We do a lot of advertising online. We do a lot of advertising on television in the past, but we do a lot also outdoors. So this is an ad that's currently running in London under the Euston Underpass. It's my favorite underpass I've ever seen. But we also have to capture supply. And this problem is a really big supply problem. We think there are probably about 100,000 businesses doing hair and beauty in the UK alone, okay? And they're very small and they're fragmented and they're not online. And so we have to try to aggregate these guys and bring them on board. And so what we did is we produced a software that helps them manage their software, their business from start to finish. And we basically gave it away to them for free. So we were doing two things. We were actually building a big consumer demand, but we're also and website for consumers. But we're also at the same time building a big software platform for our suppliers. And this is a big commitment because if you're on Saturday morning and the system goes down, I tell you, you do not want to be on the other line with thousands of angry hairdressers. But this is the kind of the big challenge. But it's even harder than that because we're actually a hyper-local business. Okay, so this is a heat map for Paris, and we actually are looking at supply and demand at a neighborhood by neighborhood, often within just a few blocks, and understanding what kind of coverage do we have in terms of hair, manicures, pedicures, waxing. And we're trying to understand what we have in terms of demand and what's happening with the demand in each of those areas. Because if a woman walks out of this conference today and says, I'm bored with hearing Lopo speak and I want to go have a manicure, they're not walking more than 5 minutes. Okay? So in order for this service to work from a demand perspective, it has to be hyper local, and it has to have incredible density of supply. And this has been a big challenge, and one of the things we've had to do very well. So one of the rules about marketplaces is they've got to deliver a better experience for consumers. I believe we do that. The second thing about marketplaces, this is my rule, not other people's rules, I believe that 90% of marketplaces are driven by supply, not by demand. Demand will follow if you create the liquidity. And this is no different. I can spend an hour talking about that, but I won't. It takes a world-class team. So from the start, we've actually been really focused on trying to build the best group of people we can. We're now 500 employees in 11 countries. We represent about 40 different nationalities. And we operate, and our biggest office is 100 people. So we actually have people on the ground around Europe. But we've also gone out to try to hire people who have the experience from some of the companies that we most admire in the space. So people from Booking.com, people from Just Eat, people from OpenTable, and LastMinute.com, where I was myself. And so people who understood how to build marketplaces and how to build local marketplaces in particular, and who understood how to build these kinds of businesses and scale them across Europe. If I had one bit of advice, I'm going to give it to every single entrepreneur I've ever spoken to, it's people. Right? I mean, if you don't have the right people, I don't care how good the idea is, it just doesn't go anywhere. I was lucky enough to find some incredible people. Now, you can have a great idea and some really good people, but if the market opportunity isn't good enough, it's going to be hard. When I started Treatwell, we originally started as Wahanda, and now called Treatwell, I was looking for large, fragmented markets, okay? And I couldn't find a larger fragmented market than this. The hair and beauty services is a €100 billion market across Europe. It's 95% single owner operated, hyper fragmented, okay? And they run at 30% utilization rate. So what that says to me is this is a market that desperately needs an intermediary, right? If this market had been a €100 billion market where there was 5 players, it would have been a terrible market to go into. But these dynamics make it an incredibly good market for us to build the business that we're in. And The measure of whether a marketplace is working is whether we're actually changing consumer behavior. Ultimately, I believe that we can increase the entire market size. I think the market potential is much larger than 100 billion. Once you put the ability for, once you kind of start changing the way consumers book it, you can actually increase the entire market size. And we're already starting to see measures of how that works. So more than 50% in our more mature markets, more than 50% of all of our bookings now happen through app. It's 50 overall for the whole group. 43% of our bookings happen at off-peak times. So this is times when a salon was never busy anyway. So we're actually driving incremental revenue for these businesses. 45% of the bookings happen outside of working hours. So we recently signed up a very famous hairdresser in London who'd been resistant to working with us for many years. And he went away on holiday. And his son, he told his son, please look at this Treatwell thing for me. And while his son was on, he had the app. And his father came back and he said, you won't believe this. Every morning I wake up and I look at the app and there's people booking their haircuts at 3 o'clock in the morning. Right? I didn't think that could happen. And we're showing that actually a huge amount of opportunity and demand is pent up outside of opening hours. And 25% of our bookings happen for an appointment that's going to happen within 3 hours of the appointment time. Within 3 hours. So it's completely transforming, again, the way the market works. So today we do over 12 million orders a year. We have 25,000 spas and salons on the platform. We add 1,500 spas and salons every single month to the platform. Over 1 million reviews, 500 employees, and we're the market leader in about 35 cities across Europe. Okay? So we operate in about 11 countries across Europe right now. And we believe, and I'm incredibly proud of this, when we started Treatwell, no one believed it was possible. And one of the things about it is that many people felt that there wasn't a US player. So we talked about, the previous speakers talked about Lisbon not being Berlin, not being Silicon Valley, not being London. And I think that's incredibly important. I have an expression when we were early days and we were trying to figure our way through the market. I said, when everyone zigs, you zag. Just, you have to be contrarian. You have to do your own, follow your own voice. And when we started this business, one of the reasons people no one believed in this business is because they all said, well, where's the US player? And there wasn't one. But I didn't sit there and go, well, that means it can't work, or that means it doesn't exist. There must be lots of smarter Americans out there who've tried this, and if they can't do it, then it doesn't exist. I just believed there weren't good enough Americans. And I believed that we could do it better here. And that's what we've gone out to do. So actually really proud of this. We are a company that's not only leading the way for Europe, we're actually leading the way globally in creating a real global leader. We are very proudly not a copycat. For those of you who are entrepreneurs in this audience, I don't know about you, I believe we're on this planet once, and I'm not interested in following other people's footsteps. Please don't copycat. So let me tell you about the story, because it seems really easy now in retrospect. And the business grows and we've got incredible people, but it was not that way. So as I said, Imran's here, front row. It's been, he can speak firsthand about how many heart attacks I almost gave him through the way. It's a business that I started in 2008 as Wahanda. We spent 4 years trying to figure out what the hell we were trying to do in this market. So we actually, our very first business plan said open table for spas and salons. We thought that was very simple. Executing that turned out to be very, very hard. And it wasn't until 2012 that we really figured out the model that was going to work. So we spent 4 years in the wilderness, right? And 4 years in the tech wilderness is a long, long, cold place to be. In 2012, Fidelity invested, and we also acquired a company called Salonium, which produced software for spas and salons. In 2000, and we saw from there on, we saw this incredible growth from 2012 to 2014, just incredible growth on this platform. In 2014, Recruit, in June of 2014, Recruit invested, first a small minority investment. And then in 2014, in October 2014, so only 2 years ago, we made our first steps outside of the UK. And we started by developing in Germany. We went straight to Germany because I thought, if there's going to be a competitor in our space, they're going to see us and they're going to come out of Germany. And I'm going to take their home market before they can take mine. So we went into Germany right away. People thought that was a crazy idea. One of our investors said it was the most dangerous thing we could do. And to make it worse, I decided to acquire a company there. We acquired a small company, not for revenue, but just for a great team. And that company was Salonmeister, not the name. We don't like the name. We then realized that our business was mostly desktop, but we believed this business was going to be mobile. And we could be beaten by somebody who came along with a mobile-first application. And we said, we have to be mobile. And I'm too old to be mobile-first. So how are we going to do that? And we acquired a company called Lemon Labs, which was an app development company in Lithuania. Selenium was in Lithuania as well. So we now have 2 businesses in Lithuania that we brought together with an incredible group of developers. And today, that business, we're well on our vision to being 80% mobile. We acquired a company called Beauty Check in April of 2015 in Austria. And then Recruit acquired us in May. Acquired majority control in May of 2015. We acquired a company called Treatwell, which is a competitor of ours in Amsterdam, in 2015, June, and then a small French competitor at the same time in June. So we did a number of acquisitions really, really, really quickly. Right? But over a long period of time. It was a lot of hard work getting there, but we could only do that once we'd proven our way in the UK and proven that we could scale it up. And so we actually started this international development at a very late stage. And it was January this year that we changed our name from Wahanda to Treatwell because we were operating 6 different businesses across the way. And I use this timeline, and I notice that it keeps going because I think we've got a long, long way to go still. But I talk about this often, this timeline, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs just believe that stuff happens really quickly. And it just doesn't. It takes a long time. So I've been doing this for 8 years, and it's been 8 hard years, but it's also been 8 really exciting years. And I get really excited when I think about the future. But great businesses take time, right? And it takes a lot of hard work to get there. And I think the future, the best moments of Treatwell are still very much ahead of us. So a very, very brief history of Treatwell and what we did. So coming back to the title of this presentation, the $240 million acquisition, why did Recruit acquire us? They acquired us because we did all those other things well. You don't start off with the acquisition in mind. I never thought about the acquisition. I just thought, how am I going to build the best company I can possibly build in the best sector I can build? So we focused on building the better customer experience. We focused on a market we believed was really large and really vulnerable, had a great opportunity for us. We focused on a strategy that we believed we executed better than anyone else. We understood how to generate both demand and supply. We knew how to execute supply acquisition and optimize that supply in a way that no one else was able to do. We built the best team we could build, right? And then we were methodical in how we grew that business, right? It took huge amounts of discipline to do that. And I think those are the factors that allowed us to meet Recruit and, more importantly, to really partner with them as a business. I don't know if there's any questions or if we're doing it. Okay.
On timing.
Thank you.
Oh my God, you're awesome. You're winning by now. More than 200 million anything. Well, there's a little Q&A because we're so tight on the schedule. So if anyone wants to make a question, I'll have to pick 2 arms, only 2 arms. Does anyone? Okay. There's a mister over there.
Do we have to actually leave their arms attached?
No, we can actually get them. You can rise, please?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
So very simple. You fell in love with this opportunity, but this is for women.
Yes.
How did this started for you? Because it's not your problem.
No. I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs.
It's not only for women, is it?
It's not only for women, no.
Okay.
Men can use it as well, but 85–90% of our audience are women. So I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are spending a lot of money with expensive laptops in coffee shops, thinking about the next big idea. And I don't know of anybody who comes up with a good idea that way. So if any of you are doing that, please stop, in my opinion. The best ideas I think, are organic. They develop, they iterate. You're in an industry, you're doing something, you see an opportunity, you see a window, you open it up. And that's been the case for me. So this is my 4th startup, and it's been a series of progressions. But before this, I was at lastminute.com, and I was running the non-travel business at lastminute.com. So it meant that I was running restaurants and theater tickets and concert tickets and even some spa bookings. And I looked around, I was like, why can't I book things? And I was working late one night, and I was walking home, and I was trying to book a massage. And it was after hours, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I couldn't book it, right? Because there was no one. I called up the number, so I called up the place, I left a message. The next morning, they call me back. I can't answer it, they leave a message, so I send an email. They say, well, I'm sorry, I can't do the time that you want, right? And then, but now I'm kind of frustrated, so I said, okay, I'm gonna think about other places to go, but I don't know what else is available. And by the time I got to doing this, I was, I just kind of gave up on the massage. And that's my point about the market being potentially much bigger than it is. And so that got me thinking. I said, well, what about this? Why can't I book this online? And the more I dug into it, the more I realized it was a huge industry.
Thank you very much. So that lady over there, she raised her arm first. Not the man, the lady.
The lady.
Please. We're fighting for parity here. We only have a lady speaking in the afternoon, the first one.
Hello, good morning. I'm sorry.
Good morning,
anyway,
fellow comrade.
I'm Cristina Matos from the Portuguese Franchising Association as a general manager. And I have one question. I saw you on the board, and all the countries, and Portugal is not there. Why? Why it's not there?
It's a good question. So we actually have a number of employees in Portugal. We don't operate a marketplace in Portugal. We'd love to. We've recently opened up Spain. So 2 years ago, we were in only one country, the UK. 18 months ago, we went into Germany. We've gone to 11 countries in a very, very short period of time. So we believe there's an opportunity in Portugal, but it's obviously a smaller market. And I think that's actually one of the challenges. I think if you're thinking about a startup, if you're starting up a business in Portugal, like many others, like I look at the businesses that are being created in the Baltics. These are small marketplaces, and so the opportunity to create consumer-driven businesses out of those home markets is kind of difficult. And I think you need to focus on large external markets. And so I think if you look at businesses in the Baltics, Scandinavia, and I hope we'll see more and more out of Lisbon, you see businesses, and you're seeing it already, you're seeing businesses that are focusing immediately internationally. And I think that's really important. So the reality is Portugal is a small market. And that's not necessarily a problem. I think it can be an advantage. But it makes it, from my perspective, of which market to go into next. We will love to do it, but we're not going to do it at the top 10.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, you can ask a question.
No, but just interested to get your thoughts on how you thought about the right team at the start of the company, and then how that's changed over time. And if you look back, what were the warning signs that you needed to think about adding or changing people you're working with?
So Imran, for those of you who couldn't hear, Imran just asked me, how did I think about team from the start to the finish, and how did that change over that time, and how did my thinking change on that? So I feel like I'm back at a board meeting, Imran. So the best way to, I started the team with a great group of people. And in those first 4 years in that timeline, we were trying to figure out the business. And it got to 2012, and we built this business that was starting to take off, but about 80% of our business was a daily deal business, which we didn't really believe in. And in 2012, I turned to Fidelity, where Imran was at the time, and I said, I don't think that this daily deal business is going to scale. I think we got to focus on our appointment booking business. We think that's the future, and I put everything on that. What I didn't realize is I was going to turn off 80% of my business within 6 months. Okay, so 2012 was an incredibly hard year financially, but it was also an incredibly hard year because of people. Because the other thing I didn't realize was that I thought I had a really good team, and the business was growing. But what I realized was, what happened in 2012 is I lost, in the space of the same 6 months as I lost 80% of my revenue, I lost my CTO, my CFO, my head of sales, my head of marketing, and my head of operations. And it was one of Imran's partners who said, Lopo, you're a really nice guy, but it's not just you. I can't just back you. Where's the rest of the team, right? And I went out to try to really focus on how do I go and build the best team I can find. And I allocated all my resources and all my time to doing that. So I'm out of time. And that, for me, has been the biggest thing. So I think I think about, first of all, you think about really trying your network, people you liked. Everyone I hired were people I already knew, and people that I'd really wanted to work together with, and people who had really relevant experience.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. All of your questions will be answered during the coffee break, I think.